Hello and welcome to a new ship tour, and today we're taking a look at the Costa Diadema. As always, we're starting with a few technical details. The ship is 306 meters long, 37.2 meters wide, and can take up to 4,947 passengers with a crew size of 1,253 crew members. The ship has a gross tonnage of 132,500 and was built in the year 2014. She's part of the Dream class, but slightly bigger than her three sisters of Carnival cruises, which are Carnival, Dream, Magic and Breeze. And as she's slightly bigger, she's also called the Super Costa class. She's the only ship of its kind and the only Dream class ship in the fleet of Costa. We are starting our ship tour on the lowest deck, which is deck number 1. There's also deck 0, but that only contains the hospital and no other public areas. So we are starting on the deck number 1, on which we only have cabins. But we can already now see the typical design of Costa Crociere, which is always very colorful, extraordinary. And we can now go up to deck number 3, because here at the rear part of the ship we have the first public area, which is a restaurant. It's the Restaurant Fiorentino. Here we can take a look into this restaurant, which is on 2 decks. We can take a look at the lower deck here. It's one of the 2 main restaurants on board, and here we can see it on the picture. It's a very beautiful restaurant with big panoramic windows with a view over the sternwave. We're now back on deck 2. Also on deck 2 there are only public areas, and we're now walking under the kitchen to the middle staircase, and from here we can go up again. And here we can see the next restaurant, which is the second main restaurant. It's the Ristorante Adularia. And you can already see by the layout of these decks that the ship is quite similar to the Costa Fortuna, Costa Favolosa that I've already showed to you. It's just a bigger version of this ship. They are quite similar. Of course, there are a lot of differences, but the basic layout is more or less the same. And that means that we also have to go back to deck number 2 now, walk under the Ristorante Adularia, and then we can go back up to deck number 3, because deck 3 is separated in several areas, divided by the kitchen and the restaurant, so you cannot walk through deck number 3 on its whole length. But now we're in the front part of deck 3, and we can take a look at the public areas here. There are only public areas on deck 3, no cabins on this deck. Right at the front we have the Teatro Emerald, which is the theater on board. It is a very big and spacious theater, bigger for example than on the Costa Toscana, because Costa Toscana has similar like AIDA ships a theatrium, which there is called the Colosseum, and then it has a second but smaller theater, and here we have a traditional big theater which stretches over 3 decks and offers a lot of space. Of course, there's not enough space for almost 5,000 passengers, but also never happens that the ship actually sees 5,000 passengers, because that would mean that every single bed on board is occupied. Also the Pullman beds, 3rd bed, 4th bed in the cabin. Usually the ship is sailing with around 3,700 passengers. Of course, that's still not enough space for everybody in the theater, so sometimes shows are shown twice. In front of it we have the international hostesses, so if you're speaking a language other than English or Italian, you will find crew members speaking your language here. And now we are in the main atrium of the ship, which is the Atrio Eliodoro. And of course, as always on Costa ships, there's also a bar in the atrium. That's the Bar Eliodoro. And as you can see, we have new furniture here, modern chairs. As we see on many Costa ships, they are changing their design to a less colorful look that pleases the taste of everybody. But I do like the very extreme and colorful design of the older Costa ships. So for me, this is something quite unique and makes Costa special. So I really like this design. And now we can finally take a look at the very impressive Atrio Eliodoro. As you can see, of course, very colorful. Here we can see the bar. But what I really like about the atrium is that it stretches over the whole height of the ship. So we can see all the way to the top of the ship. and that's very impressive, and I really like those huge atriums. Unfortunately, newer ships don't have them anymore because they are wasting, of course, a lot of space that could be used for cabins, so you can make more money if you don't have an atrium like this. But I really love those older ships that still have those huge atriums, because for me it's always just so breathtaking to see them. So I really like the atrium of the Costa Diadema. Here on this side we also have the reception of the ship and some more seating of the Bar Eliodoro. And that means that we have now seen all public areas on deck number 3. Here we can see the picture of the reception. We can also take another look at the seating area here in the atrium. And now we can head up to deck number 4. Also on deck number 4 we only have public areas, there are no cabins. And on deck 4 we can also go through the whole length of the ship. Starting in the front we have the theater again, of course, the second deck of the theater, so we don't have to go there, we've already seen it. And then here on the right side we have Sea Dream, where you can book your next cruise with Costa. Of course we can take another look into the impressive atrium. And here we can see the Sea Dream area. As I said, the space where you can book your next cruise already on board. Costa always offers a nice discount if you book your next cruise already on board. Right next to it we have My Tours. Here you can book your excursions. As always, I would recommend to book your excursions in advance if you have a special excursion you want to do, because it's possible that the good excursions are already sold out when you come on board. But if you want to do a tour spontaneously, of course you can do that here. On the other side, on the starboard side of the ship, we have the My Moments area, which is the photo shop on board. Here you can buy pictures that the photographers are taking of you. You can also do photo shootings here. So this is the photo area on board. We're heading further on to the rear part of the ship, and we're now getting into one of the biggest and most important bars on board, which is the Grand Bar Orlov. This is one of the biggest bars, as I said, and it comes with a very nice model of the ship. Here we can see the beautiful Costa Diadema as a model, and now we can take a look at the bar and the lounge area of the Grand Bar Orlov. On all Costa ships there is a Grand Bar, one of the biggest on board, which always sees a lot of entertainment. For me personally, it is not colorful enough. It looks like on any other ship to me. We have a lot of beige, we have dark red, wine red, so it's not that spectacular, not very typical for Costa. For me personally, a little bit too unspectacular, so it was not my favorite bar on board. I didn't spend too much time there. Also the curtains were almost always closed, so didn't have the best atmosphere, but we will see some other bars that I liked better. We continue to the rear part of the ship. Next we will see the Galleria. That's the shopping area here of the Costa Diadema, and the shopping area is pretty huge. If you remember my tour of the Costa Toscana, there were all shops closed due to renovations. Here on the Diadema they did that a bit better. Here were like 2 or 3 shops were currently closed for renovations, but all other shops were open. So they were doing them one by one and not all at the same time. So for every passenger on any cruise there's always a chance to go shopping. And the shopping opportunities here on board the Costa Diadema are pretty good. There are a lot of shops for every single taste and interest. There is a special shop. We have shops for clothing, we have shops for perfumes, we have a shop for jewelry, for necklaces, for watches. So there is something for every interest. Of course, you can buy some purses, you can buy alcoholic drinks, snacks, souvenirs. Everything is available here on the Costa Diadema in the shopping area. So you can see here we have the shop for snacks and alcoholic beverages, also some cigarettes in a duty-free price, and many more. So a very wide selection is available here at the Costa Diadema. There are also some famous companies on board. We will see that later on in the video. Here we have the shop which is selling jewelry. On the other side you can buy watches, for example. So as I said, there's a shop for every taste. Right next to the shops we also have the conference rooms. We're heading there now. They're here on the left side, so turning to the left. We'll take a look at those shops here and this little square a bit later on. But first let's head to the Sala Chiara and Sala Desiree. Those are the two conference rooms, of course not too spectacular. For most cruises they are not important, but I wanted to include them anyways. And here we are at this little square in the beginning of the shopping area. On the left side we have a shop called Miss Bikini, and on the right side we have an only store with Jack & Jones, so that's the famous brand that you will also find in most shopping centers ashore. So once again, a very big selection of shops, very good shopping opportunities here on the Costa Diadema. Here we have the Only and Jack & Jones store, also looks like in a shopping center ashore. And that means we have now seen all shopping opportunities on board. Here we have the second deck of the Ristorante Fiorentino, we have already seen that, so we can now head up to deck number 5, the next deck which only has public areas. It's the last deck on the lower part of the ship with public areas. Right at the rear part of the ship we have the biggest lounge on board, the Salone Teodora. Fortunately we cannot go inside from this side, it was closed, but we will see it later on from the other side. Here we have this interesting hallway. According to an older deck plan there is a cinema behind it, but it was not open on my cruise. And on the other side we have the Piano Bar Principe Nero, which looks pretty nice and futuristic. I really like the design of this bar, for me one of the most beautiful bars on board. Here we can also see it on the picture. And now we're heading onto the front of the ship. There we're getting to a very important area, which is the casino. The casino on board of the Costa ships is always pretty spacious and big. We'll see that in a second. Here on the right side we have a wine bar. We will see that one also later on. But first we can take a closer look at the casino, and of course we can also see the casino bar. As always, you see that there are no people on the ship, and that is of course because I'm always getting up pretty early in the morning when everybody else is sleeping to make the ship tours, so that I don't have to blur too many faces. That's why the ship is empty, and I can also take a picture in the casino. Of course that's not allowed when people are actually gambling, but now there was nobody here, so of course we can also see it in the video. Here we've just seen the casino bar, and now we can head over to the other side, back to the wine bar, Gran Duca di Toscana. Here you can get some nice wines. It's also completely separated from the casino, so it is a very, very nice wine bar. And it also offers a view down into the shop below. Here we can see the bar on the picture, and we are now heading further on to the front. We're now going all the way through the casino. The next public area we will see is the Pizzeria Pomidoro. But as you can see, the casino actually is pretty huge, a lot of space taken up by the casino. Of course, it's very important on an international ship to have a big casino on board. And now we're heading into the Pizzeria Pomidoro, also available as far as I know on all Costa ships, offering very nice pizza. Unfortunately, I do not like the seats at all, because those are the same seats you also have on your balcony. And I'm not sure if that was maybe just temporarily and they will get replaced by newer and modern seats. I at least hope so, because those seats are neither comfortable nor beautiful, especially not in the restaurant, so I don't think they really fit there, so I hope they get replaced soon. We're now heading to the next restaurant, and that is the Club restaurant, the Club Diadema Ristorante. And if you're taking a look at all the deck plans, you can see that this was supposed to be the Ristorante Archipelago, so maybe they have changed the locations or the plans have changed, because here right now it is the Club restaurant. Later on when we get to the next restaurant, that was supposed to be the Club restaurant, but it's now a steakhouse. So there are a few changes. I think in the internet, if you're not checking the Costa website, you will find some older deck plans. Here we have a teppanyaki restaurant. That is of course a restaurant that is not included, just like the Club restaurant, but the Club restaurant is only for passengers with a suite or a high club status, and the teppanyaki restaurant can be booked by everyone. Here we have another view into the Grand Orlov bar. One deck below we can see the dance floor, and now we are on the side of the steakhouse. And this steakhouse is in a location where, according to the older deck plan, is the Ristorante Club Diadema. But now it is a steakhouse looking very nice, modern and luxurious, one of the most expensive and high-class restaurants on board, of course not included. But it's worth it, and you will see that in the vlog later on. Here we can see some pictures of this restaurant. And now we're heading on to the front. From here we are now getting to the Archipelago restaurant. It was not open on my cruise. Maybe they have just recently changed the location, because according to the old deck plan there was a cigar lounge here, but as you can see it is now the Archipelago restaurant. And we're continuing heading to the front of the ship. On the other side we have yet another specialty restaurant, which is the Sushino. Also, like all the other restaurants here in this area, not included, you need to pay extra, but then you can get some very nice and tasty sushi here on board. Of course, when the Archipelago restaurant is open, this is the most expensive restaurant, followed by the Steakhouse, but on my cruise Archipelago was not in use, so the Steakhouse was the most expensive one. The Sushino is a restaurant that is not too expensive, it's just a little surcharge and you can enjoy some nice sushi. Further on to the front we are now getting into the Atrium Eliodoro again. Here on the right side we have a bar, which we'll see in a second, but first let's take a look into this impressive atrium once again. As I said, it is very colorful, and of course you have to like this very unique design of the Costa ships. That's why I make videos like this, so you can decide whether you like the design or not. I personally love it because it's so different than any other ship. It makes them quite unique and interesting to me. Here we are in the Country Rock Club, pretty similar to the Heineken bar on the Costa Toscana. Also sponsored by Heineken, but in this case not renamed yet, but maybe it will also be a Heineken bar in the future. According to the old deck plan, on the other side we have the Sala Carte. You can also see it on the decoration, but now it's the Club Al Nat, which means it's a card game room, but it used to be a card room. But now it's made more for children to play those arcade games. And right next to it we have also another traditional part of every Costa ship, the Gelateria Amarillo, where you can get some nice ice cream. Here on this ship it comes with a quite interesting design, because it has see-through chairs and they're actually quite hard to see, so I guess there are every now and then some people running into the chairs because they are actually see-through, and as you can see on the pictures they're sometimes quite hard to see, so a very interesting design choice here for the Gelateria Amarillo. And now we're already back at the front of the ship, and here we have the Teatro Emerald again. We are now on deck 3, we can take another look down into this very big and spacious traditional theater on board. I really prefer those traditional theaters over concepts like the atrium, because here everybody who's in this room is actually interested in the show, it is much less background noise, and it's also easier to find a seat. We have now seen all public indoor areas of deck 5, but there are a few things we can see outside, because there's a walk around promenade, a very big and spacious promenade, and we of course gonna take a closer look at it. Costa Diadema is one of those ships with a very wide promenade, meaning from the balconies above you always have to look down on the promenade, and the promenade is a little bit blocking the view of the ocean. But the promenade is much smaller than on very new ships like the Costa Toscana, for example. So as you can see, the part that is covered above me, that is for the balconies, and then just maybe 1 or 2 meters to the side we have a little bit of promenade that is blocking the view. Also quite interesting are those rooms here on the side that are wider than the rest of the ship. For me they look a little bit like the bars in the ski resorts. They also have more or less the same purpose, so you can sit there and be half outside, half inside, so it's a quite nice idea. We are now at the rear part of the ship, and here we have also a very interesting area, that's the Bar Teodora. It belongs to the Salone Teodora that we will see in a second, and it's the outdoor bar. It's comparable to AIDA ships, for example. It has this tent roof which gives a lot of shadow, and you have a fantastic view over the stern wave with a very comfortable and luxurious furniture. Here we can see the bar, and now we're heading inside the Salone Teodora that we were missing in the beginning because on the other side the entrance was closed, but here it was open, so of course we're gonna take a look into the biggest lounge on board, which also comes with a big stage and the dance floor, so it's also used for entertainment in the evening. Also here it's not too colorful, so I was expecting a bit more color here on the Costa Diadema in the bars. Still looking nice and beautiful, but it's a lot of beige and not that extraordinary than other bars on other Costa ships. But I really like this outdoor area. As you can see, very luxurious furniture, and of course the view is amazing. Also, if you take a look down here, you can read the ship's name, you can take some nice pictures of the stern wave. So it's a very, very nice area, as you can see here. That's the picture I was talking about. Very nice part of the ship. We're heading back to the front on the other side. So here we have the smaller part of the promenade. If you book balcony cabin at the rear part of the ship, you will see less promenade below you. And here we are at the wider part of the promenade. Here, of course, the view from the balconies above is a bit more blocked by the promenade, and also you have to consider that there are a lot of people here on the promenade, so you will also hear a bit of the noises on the balcony of your cabin. Right at the front we have also a very nice area, and that is this little whirlpool area here. The whirlpool is on the side of the ship, wider than the rest of the ship, and that means that from there you have a fantastic view. That's pretty interesting. You can take some nice pictures from this side, because you actually feel like you're sitting above the ocean. And that's a very, very nice idea to have a whirlpool here in this location. Here we can see it also, you can see the bridge wing in front of you. And we're now heading to the point where you can take some nice pictures. Here you can see you're actually wider than the ship's bow, so that's a very nice location to take some nice pictures. And we're now heading on further to the front. Because it's a walk around promenade, you can also access a part of the ship's bow. As you can see, there's no sign that tells me that I'm not allowed to go here. So we're now walking to the front. It's a public area, still accessible. There are also some sun lounges here on the front. As you can see here, of course not set up yet, but as you can see, this is a regular public area. From here you can take a very nice look over the ship's bow, and you can also take a look up to the bridge. As you can see, there are some windows, but those are not passenger cabins, those are crew cabins, presumably for the show ensemble, because it's right in front of the stage. Those whirlpools down there are also intended for the crew of the ship. And this is the view up to the bridge, also very nice to see. But now there's something quite strange. So as you can see, I can access this area without problems. There was no sign telling me that this is a crew area. Now we're heading to the stairs, and we can go up the stairs, and as you can see, also here there is no sign telling me that I'm now entering a crew area. So I would assume that this is still a public area. The only difference is that we now have a blue floor instead of a wooden floor, but otherwise it looks like a passenger area. Those are cabins that you can book as a passenger, so it's possible that there will be someone in front of your window. We're getting up this stairs, and also here no sign that I'm entering a crew area, so presumably still a passenger area. From here you can enjoy this fantastic view over the ship's bow, so a very nice area to stay when the ship is going into a port. But now we're heading inside, and now it's getting interesting, because as soon as we're getting inside, we are in the crew area, and that's very strange. So here we have the door. As you can see, no sign at all. Looks like passenger area. You can open the door, and now this looks like a crew area, and there's also a sign on the door which tells, attention, you're now entering a passenger zone. And if we take a look at the other side of the door, as we can see here, it says crew only. Now that is very strange, because from the side that I was coming, there was no sign at all that I'm in a crew area, but if I go the other way around, it's a crew area. So that was very confusing, and I checked my footage several times, but I couldn't find any sign that at some point I went accidentally into a crew area. There was just simply no sign. So if you know what this is all about, let me know in the comments. Maybe I missed a sign somewhere, but it is a quite confusing situation. We're now back inside, and we skipped deck 6 to 9. And we are now on deck 10, because on decks 6 to 9 there are only cabins, and deck 10 has cabins in the front and public areas in the rear part of the ship. We're now heading to the Lido Diana, which is the inside pool area. It comes with a retractable roof, so if the ship is sailing during nice weather, they can open the roof and it is an outside area, and if the ship is sailing during bad weather or Northern Europe, the roof can be closed and it is an inside pool area. It's also the biggest pool area on board. Of course, if the roof is closed, it's quite hot in here, then it feels like a tropical swimming pool, and if the weather permits, the roof can be opened. Of course, also comes with sun lounges, seating options, and big panoramic windows, so a very nice pool area, quite traditional. And in front of it we have a restaurant area which comes with a buffet area and also a bar, of course. There's also a big screen, so for example, if there is an important football game, can be shown here. Also movies and other things can be shown here. Here we have the bar area on the right side and the food area on the left side. Already belongs to the Ristorante Corona Blu, which we will see in a second. Here we can see the picture of the buffet area, and on the other side we have the bar where you can get your nice drinks when you are relaxing by the pool, the Lido Diana. And we're now heading into the Ristorante Corona Blu, which is the buffet restaurant on board. And as always, my ship tours with Costa. Few things about food quality. Food quality in the main restaurants is pretty good, except the breakfast. For me personally, the breakfast on board of Costa ships is not too good, but lunch and dinner in the main restaurants is amazing. But here in the buffet restaurant, the quality is not too good, so I would always recommend using the main restaurants, as the food quality there is much higher than in the buffet restaurant. Also, this restaurant is a bit too colorful for me because of the color changing lights here. That's a bit too much for me, so I didn't really like the design. And as the food is also better in the main restaurant, I would recommend using the two main restaurants that I showed to you in the beginning of the video. But of course, this is the more casual option to go for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Here we can see it on the picture as well. And now we're heading to the second pool area, which is the outer pool, the Lido Stella del Sud. Here we also have a buffet area and a bar, and of course we have the outdoor pool of the ship. And what I really like about the Costa Diadema is this whole area here, because it looks like on an old cruise ship or old ocean liner. We have this terrace style aft of the ship, where you have a lot of outdoor areas and you can enjoy the look over the stern wave. And it looks quite similar here on the Costa Diadema. Of course, there are a few decks with balconies in between, but we still have a lot of outdoor areas at the rear part of the ship, which is not standard anymore nowadays because, of course, a balcony cabin at the rear part of the ship can be sold quite expensively. So that's why nowadays they would rather put some more balconies here than a public area. But I really enjoyed that here on the Costa Diadema we still have a public area at the rear part of the ship. Of course, we have a lot of sun lounges available here, and as I said, there are also food and drink options. We can also head a little bit closer to the bar area with a buffet. As you can see here, we have the buffet. The bar is one deck above. We will see that in a second. And now we're heading up to the next deck, which is deck number 11. And here on deck 11 we have the Bar Stella del Sud, and we also have the Balconata Stella del Sud, which is the upper area of the Lido del Sud. Comes with whirlpools and some fantastic views, and as I said, there is also a bar available, so of course you can get some nice drinks here as well. But there are some more interesting areas here, so let's head inside first. Here on the right side we have the Biblioteca per la Nera, the library on board where you can read some nice books. There used to be an internet corner as well, you can see that on the left side, but I think it's not used anymore as it's not necessary anymore nowadays, as we have the possibility to book Wi-Fi all over the ship. This area is not used in the moment. According to an old deck plan it was the Star Laser, whatever it is. And on the other side we have something very traditional to be found on almost all Costa ships. It's the Capella, the chapel on board. You will not find a room like this on many cruise ships, but it's traditionally available on most Costa ships. And we are heading to the other side, because right next to the chapel we have the disco. The nightclub on board, the Discoteca Pietra di Luna, stretching over 2 decks. Here on the lower deck we have the dance floor, so this is the most important part. And now we're heading back outside, continuing on to the front of the ship. Here we have a lot of open areas, space for sun lounges, And we're continuing on to the front. Here on the left side we have the Squawk Club, which is the area for kids and children. We will see the official entrance in a second. We're now heading inside again. We're now on the upper deck of the Lido Diana. It's the Balconata Diana, the upper deck with additional seating areas. And here we have also the access to the middle staircase, and from there we have the entrance to the Squawk Club. Get there, we have to turn left here, and here straight ahead we have the entrance into the Squawk Club. But we're not focusing on the Squawk Club, we're taking a closer look at the Balconata Diana. Here we have those big panoramic windows, which we'll see in a second, but first we can take a look down to the pool again. We can see the retractable roof once again. So this is a very nice and spacious pool area. And now we're heading to the windows. Those are quite distinctive for the look of the Costa ships. Windows that are almost like panoramic windows. You can look up to the sky. Some of those windows can also even be opened, at least at small parts, as you can see here on the left side. Now you can see what I mean by panoramic windows that are slightly curved to the top. So that's quite a nice area where you can enjoy very nice views. There's also another whirlpool which is outside of the ship, so it's like wider than most parts of the ship, so it offers fantastic views. Here you can see it. Door was still closed early in the morning. I cannot head out there to show you the view, but it is amazing. And now we've also seen all public areas on deck 11. Here we have the highest accessible deck of the atrium. One deck higher we also have some windows, but this is the last deck where you can actually take a proper look down. And we're now heading up to deck number 12. Here we can see the glass roof. As you can see, it's still possible to go a little bit higher, but this is the last open area where you can take a nice look down into the atrium. So now we are heading up to deck number 12. Let's head to the stairs and up to deck number 12. And here we have the entrance into the Sole Mio spa area. But that's only the entrance area. Most parts of the spa area actually one deck above on deck 14, and that's where we are heading now. There is no deck 13, so from deck 12 we're actually going directly to deck 14. Other than the entrance to the spa area, here on a deck 14 we also have the gym, the fitness studio. That's where we are heading now. From the gym you don't have a view over the ship's bow, but you have a view over the Lido Diana area and the funnel of the ship. And the gym itself is equipped very nicely with a lot of fitness equipment, so it is a very nice gym with a fantastic view. There is a possibility to go to the outdoor areas of deck 14 from here, but officially you're not supposed to use it to avoid having cold air in the gym. Instead we're heading back down to deck 11 through the atrium and back outside, and then we can take the steps up to deck 14. And here you can see we're now at the outside area in front of the gym. Here we can see the view that you have from the gym once again, but we can still head up one more deck to the highest deck of the ship, deck number 15. That's where we are heading now. First we can take another look of the nice view from deck 14, but of course you have an even nicer view from deck number 15. You can only access this deck via this stairs here in front of me. There is no connection to the main staircase in the front of the ship, so you have to go up here and then you can reach deck number 15. The rear part here in the front is open and accessible for all passengers, and the front part is the Lido Burmese Rose that is only accessible for the passengers that have booked a suite on board. But of course we can take a look. Here you can see how this area looks like. You can also take a look at the picture. And now we're turning around, taking a look at the area that is accessible for everyone. It's this area, and from here you have this fantastic view to the ship's funnel. And now we've seen all public areas in the front of the ship. We're heading back down to deck number 12. There is also an area where you can play some table tennis and table kicker. And I think there was like a Formula 1 simulator here because of the whole design of this area, but now it's also used for some more arcade games inside this small room here. We can take a look inside. As you can see, it's more like a card game style room now, but I can imagine that they used to be like a Formula 1 simulator or something similar in here. Here we have some more open decks where you can enjoy the sun on some nice sun loungers. As you have maybe seen throughout the video, Costa's also using some high quality sun loungers, not the very cheapest version, that also gives the ship a premium feeling. Then we have some more hot tubs here, and we're heading back to the rear part of the ship where we have some more sun loungers, covered area, also quite windproofed because it's at the rear part of the ship, and we can take a look down to the Lido area once again. So from here you have a nice view over the ship's stern wave, and as I said, this whole area is also quite protected against sun and wind, so also a very nice place to be. And there are also some more inside areas, so let's head there first. On the right side we now have the Sala Carte, which used to be the Club Alnat, so earlier on the arcade games were in this room, but now it's the card room where you can play some games, for example. It's also a bit more modern room. And on the other side we have the second deck of the Discoteca Pietra di Luna, but the more important part of the disco is one deck below. There we have just some seating possibilities and a look down to the main stage and dance floor. So as you can see, there's not too much to see here on this deck, so we are leaving this area again, heading back outside, taking a look at the other public areas here on the ship. Just a handful of areas that are still missing, so we're heading back up to deck number 14, sports deck here, with a jogging track and sports court, of course covered by nets so that balls cannot go overboard and land in the ocean. And from here we're heading further on to the front. Then we have seen all public areas of the ship, so we're following the jogging track. First on the left side we can see the distinctive funnel of the Costa Diadema, of course traditionally a big yellow funnel with the blue Costa logo on it. As I said, very distinctive, easy to recognize Costa ships due to their yellow funnel. And then further on to the front we have the outdoor area of the Squawk Club and the Kids Club. So there's a lot of space for the kids on board. But maybe you have realized that there's something missing that is also quite distinctive usually for the Costa ships, and that of course is the yellow water slide. On the Costa Diadema there is actually no proper water slide. There are just some small slides for kids, but there's not the typical water slide that you for example find on the Costa Fortuna, Costa Favolosa that are much older, or also on the newer ships, the Costa Toscana for example. But here on Costa Diadema there is no water slide that can be used by adults at all. So that's quite interesting, because the ship itself of course is much bigger than the Fortuna or Favolosa, but still it doesn't come with a water slide. Here we can take a look down to the retractable roof of the Lido Diana, and now we have seen all areas of the Costa Diadema. But of course we are going to take the panoramic elevator. It's quite traditional already to take the panoramic elevator on a ship if there is one available, and of course here we have a fantastic panoramic elevator. So now let's head back to the front. Of course this will take a while as the ship is more than 300 meters long, but eventually we're gonna get there, and then we take the elevator down from the highest possible deck to deck number 2. So that's why we're heading up the stairs one more time, and here we are. Elevator was already there, so now let's take it back down to deck number 2 and enjoy the fantastic view of the atrium. Once again, here we can see it. I really love this extremely colorful and extraordinary design of the atrium and the ship itself. And now we've actually seen all areas of the ship. In the next video, which will be the vlog, I will show you a bit more about the life on board, the food quality, and of course I will also show you my cabin here on board of the Costa Diadema. Here you can see when this video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.